Welcome, 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 humans and gentle humans, to the latest and the greatest San Francisco Cliterary Salon. That's right, folks, it is our Pride show. Show your pride. Please make sure to remember our slogan. We're here, we're queer, we think clits are great. Say it with me. We're here, we're queer, we think clits are great. I can't pronounce queer or clits, it's fine. It's fine. Neither of them. It's gonna be a problem, it's okay. I'm your MC tonight, Lewis Evans, the original clitless clitorado, and I'm so happy to be with you all at Cliterary Salon and the historic Conservatory Speakeasy. Give it up for our venue. Listen, humans and gentle humans, we've got a great show, a great lineup of authors, so without further ado, let me introduce the very first one, Meg Elison. Meg Elison is older than sin, and her heart can grow no darker. She wants to basically do it with the abyss. Every midwinter, an ancient evil with flesh of oak and eyes of undead suns pleads with her to bestride the world like a colossus, meting out pleasure and pain in defiance of desert as a fundamental refutation of God. Each year she's like, pass. And yet the day of her acceptance draws near, and there will be a wailing and a gnashing of teeth like the opening bars of a really serious death metal track. So tremble in fear as you pay your loudest homage to Meg Elison. Without any further ado, I give you Meg!
I love it when he does that. So this story is called Rapture, and this reading of it is dedicated to my beloved Eric. Elizabeth Barrett Browning wakes up again. It's the third time today. She thinks it's far more common in the springtime, but all year long she's called this way. She sighs and tucks her dark hair back under her cap. She will not refuse the call. The afterlife is not as she imagined it. The throne of the Almighty is nowhere to be found, and no creature, great or small, has asked her to account for her good works or confess her sins. She simply arrived one day and met a woman with dark eyes and excellent manners who showed her to this restful place, something like a nice rooming house, sometimes like a torchlit catacomb, and she was told to sleep. The rooms are small but pleasant. It is always warm, and it smells of lavender or apples, and it always seems to be twilight, or perhaps just before dawn. So she must light a candle. There is no pain here. It does not concern her that she cannot see her way. If she stubs her toe or barks her shins, it would scarcely matter. But she hates to awaken anyone who has not been called. Some of the people who sleep around her, men mostly, are terribly vexed when awakened and not fed. Horace Walpole, poor fellow, hasn't had a bite in years. Anytime someone makes a sound near him, he jumps right up, excited as a child at Christmas. Then he lies back down, as disappointed as if that same child had received no gift at all, while everyone else was merrily opening theirs. As Elizabeth walks down the hallway, she feels herself smiling automatically as Virginia Woolf comes into view. Virginia is always popular, and she has such a sprightly way about her for a suicide. "Good morning, Virginia," Elizabeth said, "for it is always morning when you awaken, no matter the hour, and there are no hours here." Virginia smiles back, reaches out, and takes Elizabeth's hand. "I have not seen you in days." Elizabeth inclines her head, looking up knowingly. It seems to her that they are beneath the world rather than above it. They have no view. It is impossible to tell. It's springtime up there, I think. It's easier for them to find me at this time of year. And who called you? Virginia sighs. A lovely girl. Scarce 15. She's in love for the first time and only just knows it. "Mrs. Dalloway," Elizabeth says, not really asking. She's being polite. This is always the answer. "Orlando," Virginia says, her smile widening. Elizabeth could swear she is glowing. More and more, the calls are coming because of Orlando. Elizabeth smiles back. She does not know how long she's been in the catacomb, nor how the library works here. She only knows that she has read every book ever written. When she meets an author in the hall, she has perfect recall of their entire oeuvre, and they of hers. They know one another in the most comfortably intimate way. The woman who welcomes everyone on the day that they die designed it this way. She is Murasaki Shikibu, and Elizabeth sees her always with an inked brush in her mouth, working. She knows everyone this intimately. She knows what every writer wants when they die. Elizabeth thinks that some of the writers know each other better still. She has seen Anais Nin in Sappho's doorway more than once. She has heard that such things are only possible for authors whose work touch in the world above, and perhaps that's true. Enough poets have come to her door that she imagines they must touch her words often, but she always sends them away. Robert has never once shown his face, and she does not care to know if he's in these halls somewhere. She sleeps best when she sleeps alone. She reaches her window, which is only hers. It is nearby to a few others, and she does look around a bit to see who else is awake. There's Christina Rossetti, reclining at the glass and winding a lock of her hair around her finger, enchanted by whatever she sees there. Elizabeth can see no one else's window, and no one else can see hers. That suits her. There's Amiri Baraka, who always seems to be moving in time as if he dances to music that no one else might hear. There's Juana Inez de la Cruz, free at last of her habit and sweeping around in crimson robes and a crown, as she stands hungrily at her own window and takes from whatever is given her. Elizabeth thinks of it as eating or drinking, but she knows that's not how it is for everyone. Some say it's like music, and others describe it as the act of love. Watching each at their glass, she can only guess at how they feel, what they feel. When she reaches her own, she sees a familiar sight. It is always one of two things: a youth with a schoolbook, or a grown person standing in the British Library before a glass case. In that case, they keep a foolscap original of Elizabeth's poem that asks, "How do I love thee?" and then offers to count the ways. It is perhaps the most parodied and mocked love poem of all time, but such things do not call Elizabeth from her sleep. There is only one thing that awakes writers who roam these halls, and that is rapture. There is a young man peering through the glass. He can't make out the words at first, and even now Elizabeth cringes at the thought of her penmanship. I was only drafting, she thinks. How could I know that centuries of onlookers would see my strike-through lines, my shaking hand? How can I tell them it was the laudanum as much as the pangs of love which made me quake so? But he is reading it, or she wouldn't be here. He is reading it, and his heart is swelling beyond its bounds. He is reading it, and it is filling him with a longing so sharp that he resents it for puncturing the evenness of his day-playing tourist. He came to this place expecting to be moved by Beowulf, and he wouldn't be the first. That author, the hulking fellow who breezed past Elizabeth more times than she liked to count, he had the look of an angry bear about him. The young man is unmoved by the bear man's poem. He has come here with a terrible emptiness in his heart. It bleeds out of him now and into Elizabeth. She feels no pain of her own, but when it is the precursor of rapture in a reader, she feels it most sharply. It is the hunger before she is fed. Pangs are only felt in hunger, guilt, and love. He is moved instead by the poem he knew at first as a joke, as a litany recited by cartoon rabbits and snide antagonists who mocks anyone who dares to show their heart. It comes over him the way a man is taken by sickness and he has to step out of the gallery into the corridor to try and compose himself, but he is weeping as though his heart were broken. But it is not, or Elizabeth wouldn't be here. His love is not with him, but she is not gone from him, not completely. He takes his own glass from his pocket and he writes to his lady. Ah, Elizabeth sighs. Would that they had such when I was young, when I think of how I pined for months for a letter. But no matter, here it comes. He finds it, not her skiff of scribble, but a clear and even printing from which he may copy. How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height my soul can reach when feeling out of sight. For the ends of being and ideal grace, I love thee to the level of every day's most quiet need, by sun and candlelight. He hits send. Somewhere in another part of the world his love awakens. Her life is still in the world where pain is real, when the sun still rises and sets. The stab of longing is shared between the two of them, and then between the three. It lands in Elizabeth's chest, beating her heart once more. The lady copies as well, and Elizabeth says the words along with her, lips moving as one as when the congregation is joined in prayer. I love thee freely as men strive for right. I love thee purely as they turn from praise. I love thee with a passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood's faith I love thee with a love I seem to lose with my lost saints. I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life, and if God choose, I shall love thee better after death. And doesn't she? Doesn't she love them better than she ever could? Seeing them crying out for one another, split across oceans without hope of anything beyond these words, her words, that they share. She cries with them, she always does. She never loved anything so well in life. Of course she awakens for this 1,000 times across 1,000 centuries, if anything lasts so long. When the rapture is faded and she is well fed, Elizabeth rises from her place. It seems to her that she's been sitting before a fire in a very comfortable chair, or else taking a sunlit stroll on a spring day that was warm but never taxing, when the bees could be heard but not felt. She stretches lightly, ready for bed again, for as long as she may rest, until she's called once more. Through the hall of glasses she makes her way, only a little curious now about who is awake at this hour, for it seems very late indeed. But she comes to one corner she knows is never empty, and she smiles, for he is not alone this night. Disheveled and devilishly handsome, William Shakespeare sits with his chin in his hand, sighing at the glass before him. It never tires him, and he is never tired. His bed hasn't been touched in years. No matter how frequently Elizabeth rises, she sees him always there. He is happier than any of them, radiating contentment like a hot brick tucked between quilts, his reflection always smiling to his fellows over his shoulder. And his free hand reaches out to his left, where Walt Whitman sits. He clasps William's hand in his and grins broadly at his glass. His rapture is as pure as a child's, and if his hands were free, he would clap them with delight. But he does not take his hand from William. Elizabeth tucks her body closer to the wall, silent as the grave, and watches them just a little longer. It isn't rapture, but it makes her smile as Virginia did, as any awoken author will. William pulls Walt's hand nearer to him and kisses it tenderly. He pulls him closer, wrapping an arm around his waist. "I hope they never let us sleep," William says. "I always knew I would be immortal." Whitman nods. "I always knew I was a god." Elizabeth turns to leave them without saying a word and nearly runs into Oscar Wilde. He smiles at her as he passes. "Well, if it isn't one of my lost saints." "Good morning, Elizabeth." She smiles back. "Good night, Oscar." Wilde slips in beside Whitman, wrapping a long arm around the two men. The three of them glow like embers in a fire that never goes out. Elizabeth does not know if they are immortals, and she cannot believe they are gods. She does not think herself a saint, lost or otherwise. No one promised her the lifespan of her ink, and now she's called by many people carrying ink that never fades. She does not know if even that matters anymore. She sneaks past the sleepers in rooms around her, and she does not envy them their unbroken rest. She cannot wait until she is awoken again by lovers who find her and bring rapture to her words. She loves them so much better after death. She cannot count the ways. Thank you.
Our next reader tonight is Molly Sigali. This is the second time we've had Molly up on the Cliterary stage. Those of you who saw her last reading, I think it was 2 months ago now, may know that she's an author of heartbreaking talent and a reader of untrammeled skill, which is a word meaning skill that has not been trammeled. What you may not know is that she's a pretty big fan of what the kids these days, and also adults, call anime. What you definitely don't know, because I made it up this morning when I was writing this bio, is you know how at the end of Neon Genesis Evangelion, humanity ascends to a transcendent state of total and ecstatic unity is like a glowing golden goo, spoiler alert?
Congratulations!
She can do that. That's her power. She could do that to all of you right now. The only reason she doesn't is because if we all turned into goo in perfect mutual psychic communion, we'd miss out on each other's beautiful faces. So applaud it all for the literal goddess of Molly Sigali!
The future we were promised by Molly Sigali. It's April 14th, 2014, and for the first time in my life, I have perfect queer hair. We've grown it out for like a year, and I finally got it past that awful page boy phase. And it's not quite long enough to be a bob, but it's got all this body, and it's asymmetrical, and no matter how much I move the part line around, or just toss it about. This land's looking cute. I was at this party last night called The Future We Were Promised. The kind of party with cardboard cutout rocket ships and flying Cadillacs. And I'm in the corner eating jelly beans out of a jar labeled protein pills. And I'm admiring a friend's costume. He's got this ray gun made from a hairdryer and this jetpack made from 2 one-gallon soda bottles. You know, and as I'm admiring his costume, I am wishing that I had the courage to show up tonight with a bouffant and a dress made out of tinfoil, like some extra from Plan 9 from Outer Space. Maybe someday my hair will have grown out past my shoulders. I won't need to shave my face anymore. My body will have actual curves. Maybe someday I will come to a party like this and I will see some girl with a fishbowl helmet and go-go boots. She'll see me with my bouffant and my tinfoil dress. I'll fall madly in love. I take another handful of protein pills. The hostess walks by and says, "Molly, your hair is gorgeous." And as she takes a drink to her husband, I realize for the first time since starting a transition, I genuinely feel beautiful. It's my first taste of the future I was promised. The next day at work, I put a lavender soap flower into my hair. It was given to me by this other trans woman who wanted to see me feeling pretty. And I've had it for months, but you know, this is the first day in which I actually feel good about myself enough to wear it. And you know, as I'm walking home from work, trying to get to my car, going down this long, thin road lined with these tall redwood trees and their thick shadows, and a strong wind is blowing uphill. Chilling my arms. And as I walk, I sort of sway and toss my head from side to side, just letting the wind catch my hair and really fan it out. As I'm walking, I'm the only person on this road, but I see somebody starting to come up from the parking lot. It's a pale, thin guy, baggy black clothing and bleach blonde spikes. And as he gets closer to me, his eyes sort of narrow and his lip curls up. And when he passes by me, he leans forward and hisses, "You're a guy dressed like one." I really hate how easy it is for someone to take me apart. I look over my shoulder. He's walking along. He doesn't seem to be paying any attention to me. And, you know, off in the distance, I can see students walking back and forth from the parking lot. And up the road, there's a fire station, and a man is polishing a fire engine. And you know, I can run to my car and be safe. There's nothing stopping me. everything except for my throat. So all of a sudden, the muscles in my throat have turned against themselves. And I can't breathe. And I can't talk. And there is something inside of me that is trying to come out. When I was 21 and finally got up the courage to go out to bars in purple lipstick and messy eyeliner and nice black dress, I couldn't even get into the bar because as I approached the entrance, a man stepped in front of me, eye to eye, an inch away from my face, and just laughed. And I said nothing. As I watched the pale man with the bleach blonde spikes walk away, I realized that I can't wear this anymore. It's been less than 24 hours since a girl at a party told me that my hair was gorgeous. I could have lived off that for months. Now it's just ruined. I've been transitioning for over a year, and every day is a battle for self-respect. I'm not gonna let some 20-year-old kid push me back into the closet. This ends now. I take 3 lunging steps at him and bellow, "You got something you want to say to me?" And he stops, turns around, faces me 15 feet away. He takes a step towards me, and I realized for the first time that I could die today. I could die because I had to wear a flower in my hair. Take a deep breath. Rise to my full height. Jut out my chest. I tend to stoop when I'm around most people because I'm self-conscious about being a tall girl. But tonight, I am not afraid to be 6 feet tall. I take a step towards him, and we chew the air between us, rocking back and forth like I could lunge at him at any moment. Just give me an excuse. Deep, fast breaths, loud exhalations, and each breath is a gauntlet I throw down, daring him to pick it up. I'm still standing here. What are you going to do about it? And he turns, half away from me, looking in the opposite direction like he's going to run. His chin is tucked into his chest, and I can see the sweat glistening acting on his forehead. And there's a look on his face like it's sinking into him that tonight he could die. He could die because he mouthed off at a girl, the lavender silk flower, in her perfect queer hair. And as I look at the tear on his face, I'm realizing what I must have looked like when I was in college, getting up the courage to go out to bars, full of dresses and makeup. He looks like a closeted, unhappy 20-year-old me. Is this the future we were promised? I jut out my chin and snort disdainfully at him like a horse. Turn and walk towards my car. I get about 3 steps away before I hear him shout, "Yeah, you better keep walking!" And I turn and look over my shoulder, ready to run at him at the first sign of trouble. But he's walking away, keeps looking over his shoulder at me, like he's trying to make sure that I'm not coming after him. And as I watch him walk away, it starts to sink into me just how tight my shoulders have become and how I can finally start to breathe again. And the one regret I have is that I just had to get the last word. Or did he?
Our next reader, our last reader before intermission, I asked our next reader for some ideas for her bio, and she wrote to me that she is, quote, here by way of a cult summoning, specifically a ritual involving copious amounts of brown liquor, lace chokers, melted candle wax, and clove cigarettes. You can applaud for that. Yeah, I don't even need to write this stuff anymore. So now is a good moment for a brief lecture in practical demonology. Why don't people like demons? Anti-demon propaganda is all about cloven hooves and big old horns and ungodly sexual aptitude, which frankly all of those are pluses. But the real secret of why people don't like demons, they're better than us. You let them put one toe, one clove, across that salt circle, and they'll show you just how petty and insipid you are by comparison with their infernal power. Well, folks, she is loose in the world. Attend, prepare, put down those holy water super soakers, and get ready for our next reader, Jessica Latournelle!
Hi, everybody. I kind of want to start with an apology because I realize that my dress has so much glitter that is probably on all of you right now. Yeah. Then again, you didn't really come here to hear me talk about sartorial choices. You came here to hear me talk about sex. About that. I'm kind of a prude, so it's kind of hard for me to write anything about all of this. And I guess what this is kind of a, you can think of it as a running log of me trying to figure out what the hell I was going to say up here. I mean, it's a trick that I learned as a writer. You write about the process when you can't write about anything else, right? So, here we go. Motherfucker! What the fuck was I thinking? I can totally write how many words was it again? Oh, I'll write 2,000 words on female sexuality? Yeah, of course. Me? I know about the sex. You betcha. This will be easy. Sex, right. The old mutual rub down, the old rumpy pumpy. Heels to Jesus, I think they call it. Tipping the velvet. Bone Detective Diaz. The beast with two backs. Yeah, that one's Shakespeare. Yes, look at me getting all literary. Yeah, I can write so many words about sex and sexuality. Just, yeah, go ahead and watch me do that. All right, that's kind of a goddamn lie. You're all looking at a woman who has to surreptitiously look around her before she can say the word breasts. Like, it's so bad that when I try to buy chicken at the grocery store, I look like I'm trying to score Molly off the butcher. I mean, shit, like, I'll be honest, I had a hard time pitching this event tonight to friends in real life because I couldn't stop blushing when I said the word cliterary. Thankfully, some of those folks wrote off the blushing as, you know, a result of a pun, but really, I was blushing because of the clit. And, you know, I realized that outing myself as a prude up here on the altar of public judgment probably wasn't the smartest idea I've ever had. But, hey, I guess everybody's got to start somewhere, right? Speaking of starting somewhere, can I tell you how fucking difficult it was to even start writing this thing? I kept thinking, oh, I'll figure something out, it'll be fine. Push comes to shove, I can just play it by ear, you know? Kind of make it up as I go along, that should be fine, right? But then I thought, well, that doesn't really work because I've got how many minutes to fill, and I'm going to be lined up here alongside some, let's face it, some pretty fan-fucking-tastic writers. Yeah, damn straight. And if I'm trying to improv up here, I'm just going to look like a complete hack. Well, I guess even if I took all the time in the world to write something, I could still end up looking like a complete hack, but whatever, I digress. I figured what I could do to help this along maybe was, I could think about sex a lot more. That should be helpful enough to get me to help me start writing something, right? So in the past few weeks or so, I've kind of filled my idle time with, thinking about sex. It kind of worked. I mean, you tell me, dear audience. But it didn't take long for me to realize something about myself. My brain is a complete asshole when it comes to thinking about sex. It's like, okay, I'm in bed, right? I'm about to fall asleep and I'll think, I'll just examine some of these feelings I have about sex, as you do. Of course, what ends up happening is I end up dozing off thinking about that one time in grade school where I was doing a reading for science class and I read organism as orgasm, and the girl I had a crush on, who was sitting next to me, mind you, gave me one of those looks, you know the one I'm talking about, and I about died. Me being the brilliant 6th grader I was, I turned beet fucking red and I said, no, I definitely said organism. I know what an organism is. My mother's a microbiologist after all. Of course, it's only now, literally, as I was writing this, that I realized that was probably a terrible move to work my mother into the grand organism versus orgasm debate. Oh, fucking well, I guess. But as I was saying, my brain's a complete jerk, deciding to run that little highlight reel right when I'm about to go to bed. So, okay. Maybe filling my idle cycles with thoughts about sex might not have been the best idea in the world. Back to the drawing board. This time I thought, I should totally do one of those mortified style things where I read some old fiction I made when I was exploring my sexuality. A lot of you know where this is going already. But I don't have any of my old hard copy diaries, and even if I did, it probably wouldn't be nearly enough. Perhaps more importantly, it wouldn't be funny or poignant or powerful enough for something like this, I guess. But wait, I know. I could turn to my Tumblr. That's what I'll do. So, as you do, I flipped open my laptop and I clicked over to my Tumblr, ready to start pulling some real gems out of there. And oh my god, okay, that's a gif of 2 people fucking. And it's kind of like I always said, Tumblr's like Stitch Fix, but for sex, but you never really know what gif you're gonna get. Anyway, once I recovered from the blushing head rush I got, I pulled open my archive and I started clicking around. Here's what I found. And mind you, I didn't edit a single word of any of these, so you're probably going to hear a lot of synonyms for hair and eyes and blushing. This first one's called rom-com. Amelia screamed. Her fingers mashed on the plastic keys on her laptop, the frustration now visible on the page. The cursor blinked its ever-present vigil after it spit out a random series of consonants and vowels, letters that mean absolutely nothing but are nonetheless strung together. A string of letters that are a symbol of nothing more than frustration and futility. I can't fucking do this, she thought to herself. She set her jaw and frowned, staring at the glowing screen. Why can't I just say what's on my mind, she wondered. Why indeed? How does everyone else do it? All she wanted to do was write something beautiful for her girlfriend. It was frustrating. Why did she feel embarrassed? Why should she feel ashamed about what she was doing? Fingers touched plastic once again, and words began to find their way onto the screen. Her hair fell onto her shoulders like a waterfall. Soft, gentle waves cascading down, impacting gently on the glossy surface of the water below. Another frustrated outburst, and she's mashing on the delete key. Everything sounded so fucking horny to her. She wasn't sure why she found it so difficult to explain how she felt. She was having trouble finding ways to describe even the most powerful moments of their relationship. Take, for example, how they met. She could remember that night just fine, of course. Katie was just standing there in the subway car. Her eyes were intently poring over this thick novel she had in her hand. For the life of her, Amelia could not recall the name of the book, even though it was what gave her pause. It was what made her take note of this woman. The book had to have been fantasy, she remembered, because the cover had a picture of a crown. She remembered how Katie was chewing on her lip nervously, her soft brows furrowing as if she were reading something distressing. Her hair looked a little messy, but everybody's did after work anyway. Candy floss pink locks, all hastily tucked behind a mirror, slipped loose as the subway car in Amelia's heart went bum-bum, bum-bum, bum-bum. But Katie didn't care, lost in her fantasy of kings and witches and knights. It must have been getting really good because her eyes slowly started opening wider and wider. And then the subway car lurched, jerking everybody forward. Katie lost her balance and almost fell over. She flailed a bit and Amelia shot out her hands to catch her. Her cute pale cheeks started to flush as Katie stumbled back onto her feet to regain her balance. She looked down sheepishly, muttering an apology. Amelia just stood there, holding her arms out, asking if she was okay. She remembered that Katie mumbled something unintelligible as they both knelt down to retrieve the book that slipped from her fingers in a moment of panic. Of course, they both did at the same time, and naturally they bumped heads in the crowded subway car. As Katie was rubbing her head, Amelia picked the book up from the floor and handed it back to her. A playing card stuck out from the bottom edge of the book. The Queen of Hearts, Amelia would explain weeks later to her friends over drinks, regaling them with a tale of a woman who stole her heart. It was so hackneyed and corny, she thought. It was like something out of a schlocky romantic comedy, but it didn't really matter. It was their romantic comedy. Amelia blinked and the widest grin crept across her face. That's it, she decided. Once again, her fingers found their way to the keys. That's the funny thing about romantic comedies, she wrote. They're always ridiculous and really cliched, right up until you find yourself in the middle of one. That wasn't so bad, right? And Leslie. Unless you actually thought that was all a joke, I'm for real, I love rom-coms. Everything. So, of course, after reading that, I ended up watching a bunch of them in the name of research. But all I really ended up in the end, though, was a bunch of tears and some clogged up sinuses. Okay, fine. Maybe I should find something a little more, I don't know, poignant? Something that might be kind of good to go out on, you know? So I found this. It's called Ghost, and it's kind of a spoken word piece, one that I've never actually spoken out loud, so, you know, this will be fun. Woo! I think I'm ahead of the curve on this being a ghost thing. What I mean by that is, I'm one of those people who seems to end up worrying everyone, whether I mean to or not. Like a chill running down your spine as you enter a dark room. I'm one of those people who can't help but feel like I'm not really touching the ground when I'm walking on the street because I'm running from point A to point B, lest someone see me and try to tell me what they think I am. Like a vengeful spirit, I'm one of those people who has a real hard time getting over things, especially things that will eventually kill me. Things like drinking, smoking, jaywalking, or things like the icy pause after he asked whether I was a boy or a girl, and in space between my legs that to this day I fear to tread. With his probing, unwelcome fingers and widened, angry eyes, he gave flesh to the fear that I had long tried to dispel, that this body is not my own. Words carried on the wings of his whiskey-stained breath went unheard because the ears into which they flew were filled only with the same hollow noise you hear when you're standing too close to the subway track. That high-pitched ringing that drowns out the voices of the people who are trying to ask if I need a hand, if I am okay, if I can hear them as they plead with me to just hang on. But you see, I already am a ghost, and I always have been. Haunting a strange house that is not my own, hoping that someone will notice me for what I am and not for how strange I appear to be. I am hoping someone won't run away for once, that they might offer to stay and help me make this strange, empty house feel more like a home, no matter how much I might scare them away when they find the axe I used to try to hack my body from this soul. I'm floating through walls from empty room to empty room, searching, my passage marked only by the graceful dance of dust in the air gathered by decades of neglect. I'm searching with eyes shut tightly so I don't have to watch the slow exodus of people who I'm convinced I've scared away for their own good. I'm searching with eyes shut tightly so I don't have to accept the horrifying situation I find myself in time and time again. I'm searching with my eyes shut tightly because seeing is believing and I did not want to see who would be leaving. I'm searching and a gentle hand touches my own and my eyes open slowly. As we touch, This strange house that is not mine shudders as floorboards swell and creak and crack and split. Drywall crashes down around our ears, and glass window panes shatter into tiny little bits. And I couldn't care less, because the only thing I can hear is my own new heart and my own new body beating so hard in time with yours. Thank you.
Our next reader, M.K. Chavez, has situs inversus. Now, maybe you speak Latin, but my ass sure don't. So I Googled that shit, and it turns out situs inversus is the medical condition where your major organs are on the opposite side of the body from their standard locations.
Dun, dun, dun.
Amazing.
And folks, you know what this means. M.K. Chavez is from the Mirror Universe. We all watched Star Trek as kids, and we thought the Mirror Universe was home to wicked types with midriff-bearing outfits, or evil goatees, or in a few lucky and incredibly arousing cases, both. But folks, brace yourself. The TV lied to you. The Mirror Universe is clearly rad as hell. M.K. Chavez is a public health superhero, rabbit mom, and a historian. And so I think I speak for all of us when I say, Mirror Universe MK, take us with you. But until that glorious day, we'll have to make do with her poetry. And so without any further ado, I give you MK Chavez.
Taking the mic, right? First. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
It's great to have a clitoris-themed reading. You know, when I got the invitation, I was like, that's great. Okay, I'll see if I have some stuff. Most people don't know, but this book, Dear Animal, is actually a product of a product of 2 years of researching female genitalia in literature. And I spent a long time looking at really weird texts in really weird libraries to do my research, including, I think one of my favorite books that I read was Feminizing Venereal Disease. When I tell people that, they don't really know what to say. Like, I love The God of Small Things, The Autobiography of Red, and Feminizing Venereal Disease. Artemis, come ride my ovarian horns down with the captive clitori. Be free and speak my grisly bare lips. In passing, I mentioned researching the history of female genitalia for 2 years. While in bed with the now dispatched lover, I say, a French engineer was hired to deal with the scourge of sexually transmitted disease in Paris. The engineer's qualifications, the design of the Paris sewage system. We're naked, in bed. He laughs and says, well, it sort of makes sense, don't you think? The father of the sewer system lined up women of all backgrounds to prove his hypothesis. Prostitutes were to blame. Poor sewer maker spent 3 weeks in bed, so depressed because after lifting hundreds of skirts, he found that a virgin vagina looks pretty much the same as a well-traveled vagina. Engineer sewer maker could not be deterred. He developed a new hypothesis. All vaginas. A vagina is a muscle much like a mouth. It has so much to say. I like that explosion. Polar. I am in search of the ice fish maw, a cold red slit, an opening, a question of expectation. This is the thought that excites me. Your sex, glacial, sticky, prickly as a glass worm. That deep sea creature, the sparkle of your inner Antarctic. And I, bottom trawl, spongy and bat-starred, full up with dark ribbons and held tight by tentacles that bite. The crawl and squirm is a testament that I am not afraid of your atmosphere. So I enter through the slush and ice. Understand it is best not to excite about the hunt. 6 months of night, 6 months of light. Instead, content and more. To the peculiar thrill of our doom, strange genesis, white crocodile fish and its krill. Wild. There are good bears and bad bears. I am one of them. She bear. A honey and potential man-eating mammalian. I forage because times are hard. I growl at all the wrong moments. It's the occasion of my needs and the food in your hands. We've all clawed at someone. Reminds me of the year I became the unknown visitor. I'm still learning Eastern and Western time. Once, I was a dancing bear. Here are my teeth. What do you think? The new story of O. I've always hated that pink is the color of woman, girl, because I fluctuate between red and black. To be laced into a tutu for such a long time and to get nothing in return. If you care to know, most days I think about sex more than 500 men gathered in the great mausoleum for the circle jerk of all time. Unlike them, I never fail. With a gyration of my hips, I'll say, let's do it again. I take what I want. Ode to my pretty thing. My woman's wolf head is a twin wing-shaped quim, a holy, hollow cause of woe and want. She's a sword sheather, a come hither and burrow in my petaled poontang, pedendal cleft and reaper, bringer of the little death, gasp and scream, cream, dream. Some think her a bad habit, a saint noir. Some know better, the blessed fruit. I like to say before reading this piece that this is not about a clitoris, but it's about a vagina. And I like to think of vaginas as a state of mind as opposed to an actual structural body part. Industrial vagina. Vagina is shark, is lockjaw, pit bull of my sexuality, my sensuality. No wonder the awe. And it has been said that bitch is in heat. Heat emanates from the volcano. Life spits you out. This bitch, she makes the world go round. Every day is a vaginal reckoning. She's coming for you. eye of the hurricane. Look at her in the spotlight. Red door, curtains to the world. She put you on this stage. Bow, standing ovation, vagina. And I thought I would end with an actual clitoris poem, specifically. Urchin detonator blason, or ode to the clitoris. Majora, minora, corpus, cavernosa, clam climbing up that hill, deep-rooted, long-legged landscape, micella, alluring, love, place, lace, bud, in vestibule, misunderstood hood, transcendental being, pedendal vessel, oyster, not vestal, ring, 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 my bell, desiderata, urchin, and violator. What would you say if we let you speak? Thank you.
This month, hasn't this been amazing?
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I'm really pleased to have a bunch of new readers and a bunch of old readers and a bunch of great content from everybody. Content. I sound like a fucking narc. Someone throw a fruit at me. Do none of you have fruit? I'm very worried about your nutrition. It doesn't count if it's on the edge of a glass. Go get something with vitamins. I couldn't hear that.
Not the book.
Not the book. Save the book. Okay, well, it looks like our readers are taking a moment to do an emergency cleaning operation. Humans and gentle humans, it's time for our next writer. It's often said and occasionally sung that somewhere wearing a rainbow way up high. I didn't get here for my voice. There's a Lauren just waiting, writing a lullaby. That's the most I've sung in public since 6th grade. You're welcome. I'm very sorry. But humans and gentle humans, what Lauren's writing is a lullaby in exactly the same way that the Siren song is a jazzy pop hit. So plug up your ears, gouge out your eyes, or just give in and get ready to ride the rainbow. Without any further ado, I give you Lauren Parker!
Hi. This is called A Bi Woman's Field Guide to Native Plants. The following research was excavated out from under the bed of a dorm room in what was called the Midwest in the former United States of America. Once archaeologists were able to peel away the compressed layers of Taco Bell wrappers and stray cup of soup noodles, they recognized the pressed wood particles to be paper, and not just debris from the archaeological dig. This text is incomplete in its creation and discovery. The subject appears to have only recorded this experience for what was called a semester at the time. This is a period of about 3 months, the space of time where many crops were grown and then were brutally harvested and then turned into animal feed, ethanol, or biodegradable plastic water bottles. From what we understand, college seems to be a torture facility where people were sent in order to become better adults by only interacting with each other and what were called professors. And professors were people who spent the bulk of their lives interacting with other teenagers. The past is a strange place, which we've learned from the following entries. Signed, the Mary Leakey Institute. August 31st, 2008. This is my first entry in my diary, in which I'll be recording my experiences as a bisexual and a wild. No longer am I a straight freshman with a pathetically doomed high school holdover relationship. Nope, this year I'm going to focus on finding an LGBT community and dating women. There's a big gay club mixer on campus tonight, and I'm going to make my bi debut. I tried to come up with a clever way to say that, but I couldn't think of anything. I have all the provisions I need, a backpack full of snacks, a nice balance of nutritious and junk. I don't want the other gays to think I'm not fun. And I'm wearing my Virginia Woolf t-shirt. I'm nervous, but excited. It feels like the first day of theater camp. Huzzah. August 31st, 2008, 2 hours later. I'm writing in here because I'm at the mixer near the campus fountain and I don't know anyone or who to talk to or if I'm supposed to check in with someone and I need something to do. Maybe I will look mysterious while writing in my journal, wearing my Virginia Woolf shirt with a backpack full of shareable snacks. Maybe someone will come rescue me. Everyone appears to all know each other and I'm nervous about approaching groups. I don't know who is in charge. Some of the women look like guys and some of them don't look gay at all. I guess it's kind of weird to say that you look gay or not gay. I have no idea if I look gay or not. I've already picked up that I'm uncool. I feel 13 all over again. Unsure of how to interact, unsure if I have self-control to be anything but uncomfortable me. This really is like theater camp. September 2nd, 2008. I have been an out bisexual for 2 days and I feel like no one has noticed. I am not sure if I like that or not. So far my roommate knows, but she mostly just wears headphones and watches Red Dwarf. I thought the hard part was exiting the closet, but it seems like I've exited to find a 4-lane highway just outside of it. I don't know where to go, which group to join, or if I'm allowed to join them. I used to be a member of the Gay Straight Alliance in high school, and that seemed way simpler. You were either gay and oppressed or straight and safe. And we would work together to get people to stop beating up the gay kids. Bisexual was considered an ambiguous space, like being between jobs. We'd all take bets on the bi kids to see which ones would end up gay and which ones would end up pretty. I was an ally back then, and I almost missed that certainty. I wasn't advocating for myself, I was speaking out for others. I was doing a good deed. Now I guess I'm part of the oppressed. And that means I'm not really advocating so much as I am surviving. I need candy. September 7th, 2008. I have solved bisexuality. I just get drunk a lot now. And then I end up snuggling with straight girls. Archaeologists note, the Leakey Institute would like to go on record to say that binge drinking is bad for your health and will probably not help you sort out your queer things. Not a lot of people are out, so even in my gay college group, it's hard to meet people who aren't already dating someone. I don't know how to flirt with women. The only way to approach them is how I've seen guys do it, and I don't want to make women feel like a guy is hitting on them. But staring at the floor and becoming deeply invested in their interests to the point where I make them elaborate mixtapes of live Lilith Fair recordings doesn't seem to be working either. September 10th, 2008. I kissed a girl! Her name is Allison, but she goes by Allie, which she says is a gay name, but I don't see how. I looked up gay names on Urban Dictionary, and it was just entries about how gross gay men are. According to Urban Dictionary, the only lesbians that exist are in porn, which everyone knows is fake. Archaeologists note, after much research, the Leakey Institute has confirmed that gay names were a socialized part of human society, but were unable to confirm if Allie was one of them. We have confirmed the following names are gay: Casey, Kelsey, Lynn, Sarah with no H, the ones with H, they're straight. Alex, Sam, Riley, and Tara. I don't know what to do, but she kissed me and it was so great. Although I was pretty worried about getting lipstick all over my face, and then I got over it. Then this guy tapped me on the shoulder and started talking about how beautiful he thinks it is when women are together. He talked for a long time. Is this what cock blocking is? Anyway, when I was kissing her, I was a little freaked out because this whole thing feels like learning to date all over again, and I wasn't sure if I was into it, but I think I was just stressed because she was so pretty and this is so new and that guy would not shut up. I already texted her. I heard lesbians are allowed to be eager. September 12th, 2008. She dumped me, I guess. I'm not really sure. We were sharing ex stories and I mentioned this guy I went out with in high school and she said, "Oh, you're one of those." I wasn't exactly sure what she meant, but I was pretty sure what she meant. She said, "I don't want to be anyone's experimental phase," and hasn't spoken to me since. I don't know if I'm sad or just angry. I like Allie, I think. Actually, I'm not sure. I don't know if I like her, if I just want to be her, or if that's the same thing. Do I like her hair and her lips because I want to look like that? I don't really like how I look, and I think she's so beautiful. How do lesbians tell the difference? September 19th, 2008. I keep trying to date women, but all these men keep getting in the way. And they are everywhere. I'll have finally gotten the courage to speak to a cute girl, and I'm constantly interrupted. Like our conversations are open season. I don't know what to do. I just keep dating them? I have no idea how it happens. I think they just take up so much of my mental energy that I don't realize that we're on a date. Every time I correspond or interact with a man, it's a date. Even if we're working together on a project. Inevitably, it's contextualized as a date. If I smile at him because it's just how my face looks, I'm flirting with him. When I spend time with women, no matter what I do, I cannot seem to turn it into a date. It's always just friendship or politeness. I tell women they are pretty, and they blush and giggle and tell me what a good friend I am. I suggest we do things together or try to engage in common interests, and then we both go home alone. Or my personal favorite, we're cuddling in bed and then nothing happens. I've been on 4 dates this month and all of them turned out to be straight. And now I'm in a book club with one of them and I don't even know how this all happened. How do women start the sex? Is there like Morse code? Archaeologist note. We had one of our interns look into this and Morse code was determined not to be a method of communicating sexual interest. I just want a girlfriend, that's all I want. I want to be able to forget every single dating tip I read in Cosmo and Glamour. I want to hide all the facts about men that I know. I don't want to care about sports or comic books or their fucking bands. I want to spend time knowing as much about someone as I did about my ex and with someone who is actually interested in my feelings back. I don't want to be guarded. I want to say what I feel and cry all the time and talk everything to death and be constantly defining a relationship that frankly never gets more defined. My mother sent me this relationship book back when I was going through my breakup, and it says something like, don't be afraid to ask for what you want. I'm not afraid to ask, I resent having to ask, because now I have to learn how to ask. October 1st, 2008. I've been attending this women's queer theory group where everyone is smarter and gayer than me. They have rainbow flags in their backpacks, they've all dated each other, and they all play acoustic guitar. Really cool majors like early childhood education and gender studies and feminist thought. And I'm still a general studies major trying to pass physics for the 3rd time. It's a new group of people most times, which I've liked because I get to meet more and more people and have queer friends instead of just the straight girls I keep accidentally making out with while their boyfriends try to grab my boobs. When I brought up I was bisexual, someone said, oh, I have opinions about that. And then told me that I'm part of the problem. That I threaten legitimacy because I hide in heterosexuality and heteronormativity. Run off to your colonial in the suburbs, she said. I certainly feel like part of the problem. October 3rd, 2008, archaeologist note. Unclear if text is illegible from subject crying, time, or if because fucking Stu blew his nose on the page. We scraped all that we could, but his allergies to pollen have caused his snot to have ink-eroding possibilities. October 10th, 2008. Hooked up with a dude again. I'd like to say it was an accident, but honestly I was just being lazy. Men are easier because I've been trained how to date them. Dating them has been my only task since the cradle. He seems really nice, whatever his name is, but I feel like I've failed. And that in order to do this right, I have to sleep with the same number of women as I do guys to make it fair, to balance it. Or I'm not supposed to sleep with people because bi people are notoriously slutty. October 15th, 2008. Is it the law that most things that are for fun gay people are for gay men? I met another queer woman who wants to do a lesbian movie night. All the gay movies I could think of that were entertaining were for gay men. Tu Wong Fu, fun. The Birdcage, fabulous. What do we have? Fried green tomatoes. November 18th, 2008. I haven't written here in a month because I haven't been doing very much. I decided to spend Thanksgiving break rereading all the sonnets by Ed St. Vincent Millay. It's making me feel more queer and more sad. Archaeologist note. There is scientific evidence that reading Edna St. Vincent Millay will make you more queer and more sad. One of our grad students has been lounging around in a desperate gay malaise since Tuesday after reading a few fixed epistles. Be careful, everyone. November 29th, 2008. Back on campus. Thanksgiving was okay. I tried to talk to my parents about what I've been going through, and my mom tried to be supportive, but mostly the conversation involved a lot of her asking whether I was still planning on giving her grandchildren or not. I appreciate that, I guess. A bunch of people I know have been kicked out of their homes, so I feel lucky. But the sort of lucky where you feel lucky that they killed the other guy and not you. It's a twisted, dark luck, like something you'd write term papers about in Gothic novels. I've stopped going to classes, basically. I mostly kill time in the college bookstore, spending all my food money on discount academic poetry publications and essay collections about French cuisine. I think I'm going to stop going to Queer Theory Meetup. December 1st, 2008. Went with my roommate to the Rathskeller today. Archaeologist note. Rathskellers were college campuses where college bars, where people who were below the drinking age were allowed to come in and eat pizza. I was sneaking sips of beer while she was in the bathroom. She's nice, we get along, our room is filthy. Archaeologist note, we can confirm this. We've been living together almost 3 months, this is the first time we've hung out. She's been dating her high school sweetheart. People seem to fall into two camps in this school, stubbornly clinging to high school relationships, or sleeping with everyone while talking about how cool the Beatles are. Sometimes her boyfriend comes to visit and I end up in the common room while they have sex. It's weird to think that someone is having sex so near my bed. That's where I eat Cheetos and watch Merchant Ivory films. I told her about the situation with Allie, and she suggested that I tell girls I'm gay. I mean, close enough, right? Then a group of incredibly drunk guys overheard us, and one of them stumbled over to assure me how much he enjoys eating pussy. He offered to show me tricks. He kept trying to wink, but both eyes kept closing. I'm not sure what makes me feel more gross. That men want to fuck me because I'm bi, or that women don't because I'm bi. There was this guy in my high school who was a total asshole. And he would go on and on about how he could never be with a woman who'd been with multiple guys because it would stretch her out and ruin her. Like throwing a hot dog down a hallway. Coming out has made me feel just a little bit ruined. December 7th, 2008. The semester is almost over and I have a paper to do, so naturally I'm on The Sims redesigning their houses with Christmas decorations. Archaeologists note, we have no idea what The Sims are. I started getting letters from the school about not going to class. I'm currently at risk of losing some of my student loans if I don't pick things up next semester. It's getting harder and harder for me to leave my dorm room, and my sheets are getting dirtier and dirtier. No one seems that worried about me. Archaeologists note. The Mary Leakey Institute was unable to find any more pages of this ledger. It appears the subject either stopped recording or stopped recording in this particular book. Despite the spelling mistakes, we'll be cataloging this work and studying it further. One of our interns, Casey, will be using it in a paper about disaster narratives on planet Earth. This text has given us insight to the now extinct bisexual. Using the facts provided to us, we have compiled an anthropological profile. Bisexuals lived off of a diet of Taco Bell Crunchwrap Supremes and Berry Mountain Dew. Bisexuals had a limited capacity for cuddling. Bisexuals were prone to isolation and depression. Virginia Woolf shirts were considered identifying tribe colors so they could recognize each other, much like dogs and butt sniffing. Bisexuals struggled with lack of representation, wandering social groups with few places to find comfort and support, socially nomadic. The Birdcage is a pretty fun movie. From all of us at the Mary Leakey Institute, a reminder that when someone doesn't believe in you, they don't deserve you. Thank you.
My queer cousin Sarah with an H. So that's fine. It's cool. We're cool. Sarah's great. Shout out Sarah. If you're watching this, hi. I'm not outing her to this room. She's very out. I love you, Sarah. please watch my Cliterary Salon videos. I'm looking directly into the camera right now. Thank you everyone for joining me in this moment of family unity. I'm not Facebook friends with my grandma, but she is Facebook friends with a bunch of my other relatives, and so she watches a bunch of stuff on my page and then talks to me about it. And like, I don't say like, I'm this close to blocking you, but every time. Anyway, if you're watching, hi Bubby. Our final writer tonight is Maggie Takuta Hall. She is a 7,000-time shipwreck winner, masked luchador, and a vengeful spirit. When she's not howling out doom from atop a craggy peak, rising lonesome from a dark and storm-tossed sea, she finds time to summit the two most highly esteemed and dignified genres of literature, children's books and porn. As she has been at pains to note, separately and not at the same time. Without any further ado, I give you the octopus-loving literary prodigy, Maggie Takuta Hall.
Thank you. I've learned with all these co-readers that I need to like get it shortened when I get up here. I need your guys' help. So I'm Maggie. I have rips in my tights, and also I desperately need your help. I don't know which I should read tonight. I have two pieces, and you guys get to decide. I can either read a piece about a squid, or I can read a piece shitting on Philip Roth. Alright, so I was gonna do a vote. If you would like to hear a piece about me shitting on Philip Roth, raise your hand. Or make noise, I guess is more fun. Make noise for Or if you'd like to hear a piece about a lady on a date with a squid, make noise.
Hentai!
I'm glad I asked because that went a different way than I guessed. Alright, this story is called Democracy is Final. This is called Mary and the Squid. Mary went on a date with a squid, and it was exactly what she deserved. The squid was shorter than its profile promised, but Mary was used to that. The squid was also very nervous, having just gotten out of a long-term relationship, and it admitted as much. Dating is rough, Mary offered, and the squid agreed, and they laughed about it, but it didn't make the squid any less uncomfortable. This date, she knew, was the karmic retribution she had to pay for her last relationship, which she was singularly responsible for destroying. And so when they walked into the coffee shop that was, until a few months ago, Mary's neighborhood coffee shop, she wasn't at all surprised to see the barista was the same pretty tattooed girl who had always taken Mary and Ben's orders when this was the coffee shop that they had shared. But the squid had chosen the spot, so what could Mary say? The squid ordered a chai, and the barista looked at Mary with a face that said, "So you're on a date with a squid, huh?" And Mary wasn't even mad, just ashamed, because yes, she was on a date with a squid. And honestly, it was the most promising date she'd been on in the terrible months since Ben had dumped her. She and the squid were both big Game of Thrones fans and played a lot of Mario Kart. And the squid's messages had been polite and funny, or funny-ish, which was good enough. So Mary got an espresso, and she didn't put any sugar in it because she couldn't stand the thought of the barista judging her any more than the squid already was. Judging her and the squid any more than she already was. The squid was pretty good looking for a squid, still a squid who ordered sugary drinks. The espresso tasted like all the bitterness Mary deserved, and also her name was spelled incorrectly on the cups. When the squid asked her what she did for a living, Mary knew the date was taking a turn for the boring, and that her less than impressive answer was a result of her own flagging ambition, and that she could hardly feel sorry for herself when confronted with her own mediocrity. You reap what you sow, after all, and Mary had not sown seeds for success. "I work in admin," she said, and the squid didn't have any follow-up questions. They were sitting in an ocean of uncomfortable silence when Mary's chair self-destructed, the back leg snapping off with a crack that alerted everyone in the cafe to Mary's unending embarrassment, a punishment Mary knew for not going to the gym and for letting her body go soft and for eating all those refined sugars. She picked herself off the ground, her face not so much red as it was the color of a shame supernova. And the barista asked her if she was okay, but didn't apologize about the chair. And the squid tried unhelpfully to pick Mary off the ground with its many tentacles, all the while asking, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay?" Which just made Mary feel worse, but she smiled and said that she was indeed okay, okay, okay. And her smile seemed to mollify the squid. And when they left the coffee shop, Mary stepped into a pile of dog shit and also her hair burst into flames. And as the squid tried to put up Mary's hair with its many flailing tentacles and also Mary's coat, one of the buttons caught her in the eye and Mary yelped and the squid apologized. But Mary said that no, it was okay, she was okay, even though her scalp still smoldered and her foot smelled like shit. And she laughed a little, which helped the squid laugh a little, but mostly it still looked concerned. She was about to say that she should probably go home now when a flying saucer descended from the sky just above over the heads of Mary and the squid and shot a laser at Mary. And with a poof, it dematerialized Mary's clothes into dust, leaving her naked and cold. And then it flew away again, as though its sole purpose in the universe was to ruin Mary's day. And everyone on the street was looking and pointing and murmuring, which was awful, but also exactly what Mary suspected people did when she walked around anyway, because she was always a mess, even when she wasn't naked and bald and dipped in dog shit. And even though the squid didn't need to wear clothes at all, it clearly understood how uncomfortable Mary must be, and offered to go buy her some clothes and asked if she was cold, if her head hurt, and marveled at her bad luck. But Mary just said she was okay over and over again, even though her chin trembled. "You don't seem okay," the squid said. "Really," Mary said. She couldn't help it. She was crying, and how embarrassing it was to cry. To cry on a date. To cry on a date with a squid. "What goes around comes around," she said. The squid gave her a confused look and asked her what she could possibly mean by that. And Mary explained about how Ben had left her for not helping with the dishes more often, but mostly for gaining so much weight, and how she worked a stupid, boring job because she had no ambition, and how she was fat because she was lazy, and how she stepped in dog shit all the time because she was careless and graceless, and she was subject to spontaneous combustion due to her poor flossing habits. And aliens often attacked her from out of the blue because she never prayed to the good Lord Jesus Christ like her mother had told her to do so many times as a child. And she was weeping, as she confessed the truth of her horrific karmic standing. "That is the dumbest thing I have ever heard," the squid told her. "No one deserves all of that just for being a human. And also, aliens are real dicks." And the squid took Mary back to its apartment. The squid made her some tea with honey, and then rubbed aloe onto her burnt scalp and wrapped her naked body in a warm woolen blanket. "Are you feeling better?" the squid asked. And Mary said that she was. "Well," the squid said, "I think you're pretty okay, Mary. You handle bad luck with grace and charm, and you look good burnt and also bald. And your laugh just makes me smile, even if your bad luck does not." And Mary laughed and told the squid that the squid was pretty okay too, and especially kind in this moment, what with her baldness and her nakedness and her tears and her bad luck, and how pleased and grateful she felt for that care and for that kindness. And they didn't so much have sex as they just held each other, the squid's tentacles hugged tight and reassuring around Mary's body, pushing the folds of her flesh into configurations that were both pleasurable and comfortable. And she was so happy for the softness of herself then, for the pliability of her body, for its heft. And fat rolling tears dripped off her chin, and she was so glad the squid was no taller, or they would not fit together so gracefully, so aptly, entwined as only woman and squid can be. And it was like the opposite of punishment. It was like relief. It was relief from her constant expectation of failure, and it was good, and it was warm, and in her mouth still echoed the taste of honey. And it was exactly what she deserved. Thanks.
Folks, that has been Cliterary Salon Pride. Make some noise. Different day, July 13th, Friday, July 13th. Technically, I guess that's my birthday show. Everyone will be required to bring a cake. It doesn't have to be good, but it does have to be real big.
What's your
A
favorite kind of
very
cake?
high size minimum on those cakes. Folks, thank you so much for coming out tonight. It's always a pleasure to do this show. We had a lot of really great readers. I'm going to call them all up here because I'm a jerk and I love the spotlight, and I'm going to make them love it too. Can everyone welcome back to the stage Maggie Listen, Maggie Hall, Laura Patrick, Molly Chiarelli, Jessica Lachman, Enrique Chavez, It would probably happen just fine without me, but that doesn't stop me from getting up here and talking anyway. I love you all. Applaud madly. We'll see you in July.